Took to the stand after proceedings were postponed in October. This was after the Commission's legal team requested Hogan and govt to be given enough time to prepare their version of events. She lost her job after it was reported that she refused to cancel the lucrative route despite pressure from the Gupta brothers. Hogan served as a minister from 2009 until 2010. The current minister in the portfolio, govt, will take to the stand on Thursday.
What a minister does in public enterprises is the minister signs a shareholders' compact with the board in which that shareholders' compact reflects the main direction and the performance objectives that government expects of that company. And it goes through a lot of discussion and whatever, and that is what you hold as a minister, that company to account. So you hold the board to account on that. So that becomes then the mechanism whereby the shareholder has an influence on the direction of a company, its strategic possibilities and whatever, but does not dictate. And it provides a basis for evaluation. In the Department of Public Enterprises, we had what we called a dashboard. So every 3 months, we would look at the results of all the companies. We'd spend a day analyzing those results and then engaging with the various companies on the basis of our assessment.
Hogan also called into question the value of the ANC's deployment committee, which influences the appointment of individuals. Hogan says that she wonders whether the deployment committee is as useful as it was during the transition period from apartheid to democracy. She says that capturing the deployment committee would have a negative impact on government.
If I was seen to be going outside of government policy, it should have been the president who summoned me, not the party. And so I'm not saying that I was saying the right thing or the incorrect thing, but it is the president, not the party. And what made things even more vulnerable at that time was that a certain faction, and I hate using these words, but a certain faction who was supporting the president who came in, President Zuma, was very powerful in that NEC at that stage. If you look at the National Working Committee at that stage, it consists almost entirely of his very vocal supporters. So there's a weakness there. You know, they were driving a whole agenda and they saw themselves as super powerful, and they could now dictate, the tripartite alliance could dictate to the government what it should be doing, down to the level of who should be a CEO or not.
Minister, former Public Enterprises Minister Barbara Hogan there testifying at the State Capture Commission of Inquiry. And somebody who's been watching that for us is our reporter Mzwandile Mbeje. He's there and he joins us now live. Mzwai, thanks very much for joining us. And this testimony has been greatly anticipated for quite a while now. And she sat on the stand the whole day and started to bring in the name of the president, the party, the ANC, as well as other figures into what she saw as pressure.
Absolutely, Peter. You had a number of people being mentioned. She says she was under tremendous pressure to appoint Siyabonga Kama as the Transnet CEO. Perhaps, Peter, before I go into those details, because there are many people who are really interested in what is going on here. We saw earlier the current Minister of Public Enterprises, Pravin Gordhan, attending the proceedings. And of course, a number of other South Africans really who are prominent, who are coming here and attending the proceedings. With me, Peter, is the COPE spokesperson, Dennis Bloom, who also sat through the entire entire proceedings. We just want to find out what is his feeling, what does he think of this process as it continues. Mr. Bloom, welcome to the SABC News. You've been sitting through and hearing all this evidence by Ms. Hogan. So what's your take so far?
Well, it's very heartbreaking that a freedom fighter, a person who have spent her life in this freedom struggle, must tell the whole country and the world what has really happened under the Zuma administration. It's very heartbreaking, honestly. I have worked with Comrade Barbara Hogan in Parliament since 1994, and what she was telling the Commission today, it is nothing else but the truth. All of us in the ANC were under tremendous pressure. We were scared, we were fearful when a thing is being said from the Den Shell House, not Litulia House. Everybody must jump around and do exactly what the bosses were saying.
So, saying what you are saying now, and you yourself having been a member of the ANC for a very long time, of course you are a COPE member now, so knowing what you know, will you, as either as an individual or as COPE, come to the Commission to assist it?
In fact, the Commission have asked me to avail myself either this week or next week. I am prepared to come and say my say, to tell the Commission what I know, what happened during that time. I am really ready to do that because it's in the best interest of this country to save the country from what has happened over this past 10 years.
Do you think the Commission is achieving what it set out to do?
I'm very much excited and optimistic that the Commission is really doing its best, and I'm having confidence in this Commission that Judge Zondo and the team will really produce what they are supposed to do.
The last question. What are you likely to tell the Commission now that you've told us you're one of the possible witnesses?
I am going to stress the point that state capture was a reality. I myself was when I was the chairperson of the Correctional Service Portfolio Committee, I was under serious pressure all the time. This Bosasa issue that has raised its head now, I was the first victim of that. I have started with this thing of Bosasa all the time. I was a victim of that thing. I was always in the office of the chief whip after a meeting, a portfolio committee meeting. I will come and tell the Commission what I know of state capture.
Thank you very much. So we look forward to that evidence, possibly this week or next week?
Possibly this week or next week. But the media will know when I'm going to testify.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bloom.
You are welcome.
Peter, you heard it for yourself. Mr. Bloom there also basically breaking news to us that he is one of those witnesses who will come and testify before this commission. And of course, earlier you asked the question saying it appears like a number of people are really involved in this. You'd remember, Peter, that when the commission started, there were those who were saying this commission is really putting the ANC on trial. But of course, the governing party came out very strong to say it's just individuals who are implicated. It has nothing to do with the ANC. But given the kind of evidence that Ms. Hogan really was giving here today, you couldn't help but think, well, maybe the ANC somehow is really on trial here, because she was even speaking about the deployment committee that is chaired normally by the deputy president, that she actually does not see its usefulness, because just a few individuals sitting and deciding who goes where. So, and of course saying the fact that some of the cabinet colleagues went onto the podium and said certain things when they were pressuring her to appoint Mr. Gama. But perhaps what was very striking, Peter, was that she read the statements from a number of individuals who really wanted her to appoint Mr. Siyabonga Gama. Going back to the ANC Youth League, at the time it was still led by Julius Malema, so insisting that Mr. Gama needed to be appointed, referring to the current Minister of Energy, Minister Hadebe, also saying something to say not appointing Mr. Gama would be a miscarriage of justice. Minister Nyanda, then he was of communications, saying the same thing, the SACP, and of course Satao. So you can see, Peter, that this commission really perhaps is giving many people more than what they had hoped for.
All right, Mzwai, thanks very much indeed. That's where we'll leave it for the time being.